subscribe to my channel.
What if heaven and hell are not places we go to, but states we awaken within? Since time immemorial, we've been told of a final judgment, a cosmic sorting hat that sends the worthy to radiant clouds above and the wicked to flaming pits below. But what if this age-old tale is a veil? What if these realms aren't celestial destinations, but deeply encoded metaphors, maps of the human psyche, guides to inner transformation, or even vibrational realms accessible in this life? You've heard the stories. Angels with golden trumpets, demons with scorched wings, pearly gates, rivers of fire. But beneath the religious dogma, beyond the literal interpretations, lies something far older, far stranger, and far more powerful, ancient. Mystery schools whispered secrets about these realms long before organized religion carved them into heaven-sent promises and hell-bent threats. In the hidden chambers of Egypt, within the cryptic lines of the Hermetica, and etched into the forgotten texts of Gnostic scrolls, heaven and hell were never destinations. They were frequencies, states of being, reflections of the soul's alignment with truth. In today's episode, we're not here to repeat what's already been said. We're here to tear back the veil. We'll journey through forgotten myths and hidden philosophies to uncover how the ideas of heaven and hell evolved and what they truly represent. You'll discover why ancient sages believed these realms were real, but not in the way we've been led to believe. We'll explore how fear became a tool of control, how symbols became prisons, and how you can liberate your own consciousness from the binary chains of reward and punishment. So, before you decide which realm you belong to, ask yourself this: what if heaven is a frequency you can tune into, and hell is the static you haven't yet escaped? Welcome to the Third Eye Files, where secrets aren't told, they're remembered. To understand the hidden truth behind heaven and hell, we must travel back, far beyond medieval cathedrals and Renaissance paintings, to the cradles of spiritual thought, ancient Egypt, Sumer, India, and Greece. These ancient civilizations spoke of divine realms and infernal domains, not as places of eternal punishment or bliss, but as stages in the soul's evolutionary journey. In the Egyptian Book of the Dead, what we call heaven was known as the Field of Reeds, a mirror of earthly life where the soul, if found pure, lived in harmony with Ma'at, the cosmic principle of truth and balance. But hell, that wasn't fire and brimstone. It was the experience of a soul weighed down by ignorance and imbalance, devoured by Amit, the eater of the dead, a symbolic force of disintegration. The Greeks inherited this esoteric model. In Orphic mystery traditions, the soul descended through the material world and could ascend once more if it recognized its divine origin. The Elysian fields were not rewards for good deeds alone, but for those who awakened the remembrance of the soul. Hades, on the other hand, wasn't evil. It was the shadowy realm of the unconscious, the place we go when we forget who we truly are. Meanwhile, in Vedic philosophy, Svarga, heaven, and Naraka, hell, are realms the soul moves through between incarnations. These are not eternal destinations, but karmic stations reflecting the energetic frequency of the individual at the time of death. You rise to Svarga or descend to Naraka not by divine judgment, but by resonance. Even the early Christian Gnostics, those mystical rebels nearly erased by the Orthodox Church, spoke of heaven and hell as states of consciousness. In the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus is quoted as saying, "The kingdom is inside you and it is outside you. When you come to know yourselves, then you will be known." So how did these metaphysical truths become weaponized doctrines of fears? Spiritual traditions became institutionalized. Symbolic truths were taken literally. What was once allegory became geography. The Catholic Church, eager to shepherd and control souls, reshaped these metaphors into dogmas. Heaven became a carrot, hell a stick. Dante's Inferno gave architecture to the formless. Milton's Paradise Lost gave personality to the void, and thus the myth ossified. But the original mystics, shamans, and sages never intended this. They knew that the journey to heaven and hell is not one of miles, but of inner milestones. That both realms exist within the architecture of the mind, the heart, the soul. In their view, hell is not where you go when you die. It's where you reside when your spirit is asleep. And heaven is not the reward at the end of life, but the radiant awareness you touch when you align with divine order, when you awaken to the eternal self within. These were never threats. They were invitations. Now that we've unearthed the roots of these powerful symbols, it's time to peel back the next layer. What are heaven and hell really? How do we experience them now, not after death? And what ancient truths are still hiding in plain sight? Imagine you're in a dark room. You don't remember how you got there, only that it's cold, silent, and endless. You feel a presence, your own, but fractured. The more you panic, the darker it gets. This is hell. Not fire, not torment, just disconnection. A state of being where you are severed from your source, your truth, your divinity. Now imagine a window slowly opens. Light floods in. You remember. You feel warmth, clarity, purpose. You are not the darkness. You are the one seeing the darkness. That is heaven. You see, these aren't destinations after death. They are vibrational realities, states of inner alignment or misalignment with universal truth. When your consciousness is rooted in fear, shame, separation, you experience hell. When you operate from love, unity, and awareness, you rise into heaven. The mystics of old understood this. They didn't build stairways to the clouds. They built inner temples. In the Kabbalistic tree of life, the soul descends into the physical world through layers of consciousness. When one forgets the path upward, they are said to dwell in the qlifoth, the shells or husks of reality. This is not a demonic pit. It's a fragmented mind, where divine energy has been twisted or misused. Hell is simply energy distorted, indai. Tibetan Buddhism. There's a concept known as the bardo, an intermediate realm between lives where one's mental state creates reality. If you're consumed by anger, you experience a hellish domain, but it's not punishment, it's projection. Heaven and hell are reflections of your psyche, your karma, your level of awareness. The Christian mystic Meister Eckhart once said, "The soul that is in hell is in God, and yet knows it not." This is profound. Hell isn't distance from God, it's the illusion of separation. And heaven? It's the realization that separation was never real to begin with. In this light, the afterlife becomes a continuation, not a destination. If you cultivate heaven now through self-awareness, compassion, inner work, you naturally attune to that realm. If you dwell in resentment, fear, material obsession, you anchor yourself to a lower frequency. This is why initiation rites in ancient mystery schools often involved symbolic death. The initiate would be blindfolded, buried in darkness, sometimes even laid in a tomb. They'd confront fear, ego, illusions. Then through symbolic rebirth, they'd rise, enlightened, awakened, reconnected. They didn't wait to die to taste heaven. They died before dying to escape hell. And herein lies the secret. You don't go to heaven. You become it. You don't fall into hell. You create it. When you understand this, every moment becomes sacred. Every choice is a doorway. Every emotion, a compass. Think of your mind as a tuning fork. Heaven and hell are not radio stations you flip on after death. They are frequencies you resonate with now, whether consciously or unconsciously. This is why enlightenment has always been described not as addition, but removal, the shedding of illusions, the burning away of falsehood. When what is not you falls away, the divine within you rises. That's heaven. And when you cling to what is false, when ego takes the throne and fear becomes law, you experience the torment of inner division. That's hell. So, where are you right now? What are you attuning to in this very breath? If heaven and hell are states of consciousness, then the question becomes, how do we shift? How do we rise out of fear, pain, and illusion, and awaken into peace, clarity, and divine presence? The first truth is simple, yet profoundly challenging. You must learn to witness without judgment. Hell thrives in resistance. Heaven blooms in awareness. Begin with this daily presence ritual. Each morning, before the noise of the world seeps in, sit in silence. No phone, no agenda, just presence. Breathe deeply, slowly. Let the breath be your tether to the now. As thoughts arise, do not chase them. Watch them like clouds passing. This practice rewires the nervous system, raises your frequency, and roots you in the present where heaven begins. Next, the inner alchemy practice. When fear, anger, or shame arise, pause. Instead of suppressing or acting out, feel fully. Place a hand over your heart. Close your eyes. Ask, what am I really afraid of right now? Then ask, what part of me is asking to be loved? By facing emotion without judgment, you transmute it. Hell becomes your forge, and from the fire you emerge tempered, not tormented. Another key practice, shadow integration journal. Each night, reflect on where you felt off. Where did envy, guilt, or fear show up? Don't moralize, inquire. Write freely. What belief was driving that reaction? Once exposed, these subconscious patterns lose power. This is what the ancients called inner work, and it's how you exit hell. And perhaps the most powerful of all, divine remembrance. Affirmation, repeat this to yourself daily, aloud or within. I am not this fear. I am not this chaos. I am the stillness beneath. I am the light remembering itself. Words carry vibration. When spoken with intention, they realign your field, like tuning a spiritual instrument. But it's not all internal. You can embody heaven in how you live. Choose presence over reaction. Choose creation over consumption. Choose compassion over comparison. Every small choice is an alchemical shift. And when life does feel like hell, when grief, confusion, or despair knock on your door, remember, you are not being punished. You are being called inward. Instead of asking, why me, ask, what in me is ready to be transformed? This shift in perspective opens the gates. In Tibetan practice, there's a phrase, recognize the demon as the protector. It's he. Means the very thing that terrifies you may be your soul's guardian in disguise. Pain is a messenger. Suffering is a signal. But peace is your natural state, waiting to be reclaimed. As you apply these practices, you'll begin to notice subtle changes. You react less. You feel more. The noise lessens. The light expands. This isn't imagination, it's attunement. You are remembering what the mystics have always known. Heaven is a frequency. Hell is forgetting. You are not here to be saved. You are here to awaken, so don't wait for the afterlife. Start your afterlife now by living from the soul, not the script. And when you do, you'll find that the gates of heaven were never locked. You simply forgot you had the key. What if everything you've been taught about heaven and hell was just a metaphor? Not lies, but symbols, signposts, pointing not to the sky or to some fiery abyss, but inward, to you. The truth, whispered. Through ancient temples cloaked in myth and scripture, passed down through the secret schools of mystics and sages, is this. Heaven is not a reward. Hell is not a punishment. They are mirrors, reflections of your inner world. And you hold the brush, you write the story, you sculpt the soul. When you suffer, the world reflects that suffering. When you awaken, the veil begins to thin. You start to see the sacred in the mundane, the light in the shadow, the divine in the dust, and you realize the real question was never, where will I go when I die? But rather, where am I truly while I live? This knowledge is not passive, it is power, a responsibility. To choose presence over fear, to transmute pain into wisdom, to become the very heaven you once sought outside yourself. So now I ask, you, not as a storyteller, but as a fellow traveler, which realm are you feeding? Which frequency are you tuning into? What would happen if you remembered that you are not a sinner begging for salvation, but a soul in the process of awakening? Perhaps the real journey is not from earth to heaven, but from forgetting to remembering, from fragmentation and to wholeness, from illusion to truth. And that journey begins, not after death, but in the next breath you take. So if this awakens something in you, share it. Comment your reflections. Like the video if it stirred your soul. And most importantly, stay curious, stay conscious, and keep walking the path with open eyes and an open heart, because heaven isn't waiting. It's already here, you just have to see it.